Innovate. Accelerate. Move technology forward. The startup revolution is now.
Hi everyone, my name is Paul Amerigo Pajo. I'm the OIC Director for Benilde Hi-Fi, the technology business incubator for the De La Salle College of St. Benilde. So Hi-Fi stands for Hub of Innovation for Inclusion. It's a community space and also a business incubator for social good startups in Benilde and beyond. We have a building called the Peter D. Garuccio Jr. Innovation Institute, which opened its arms to all who wish to create and scale social impact. Our purpose is to build a just and humane society that includes the least, the lost, and the last. And our philosophy is school is the logical place to grow enlightened, empowered, and compassionate citizens who shall become the seeds of social reform. So thanks for joining us for this panel on the future of circular economy startups in the Philippines. So we have invited several circular economy startups and also respective enablers who create these kinds of frameworks, circular economy frameworks. So I'd like them to present their companies first, and then we will have a panel after that. So first in the lineup would be Prince Jindel Ventura, the CEO and founder of Where Forward.
Hi, good afternoon or good day, everyone. I am Prince, and I'll be talking about circular fashion with Wear Forward. So I'd like to start our journey with my personal journey as well. So many people don't know that I am actually from BS Computer Science, and then I shifted my degree program in UP Diliman to BS Clothing Technology because I was looking for my purpose. And in one of our research classes, we were asked to list down all our personal fashion problems. And from the list, we have to pick one and address it through a creative project. And that's when I found out that in my closet, I have a lot of clothes that I don't use anymore, or it takes a long time before I use them again. And so I also discovered a lot of things that are really polluting and extremely wasteful and exploiting practices in the industry. For instance, the Filipinos actually are known to have, like a third of the Filipinos are known to have thrown clothes away after wearing it just once. Can you believe that? And around 10% of the carbon emissions globally are attributed to the fashion industry. And not just that, but textiles are a major source of primary microplastics in our oceans. So with the linear system we have today, one garbage truck of unused and unsold clothes and other textiles is incinerated or landfilled every second worldwide. And with the linear system we have today as well, only 10% of these clothes are being recycled and only 8% end up being reused. So we have like 480,000 or 80 billion US dollars of value each year that we are wasting because we are throwing clothes that we can still continue to wear. And so I thought of making this system into circular or circular fashion. And so during that year, in March 2017, I came up with Shelf Life as my creative project. And later that year, I established or I changed it into Wear Forward and started to build social media pages and building awareness about the issues in the industry. And also during that year, I also started on working on my research project, my thesis on smart textiles. And basically, my focus is to create a fabric or a textile that can harvest energy, that can store energy, and eventually can generate electricity. And this is also a way for us to create renewable energy out of textiles. And this is also adhering to the circular economy principles. And so these are just some photos of my thesis project and how it went. So these are the nanofibers. And like these are the setups of my experiments. And the one on the right is the nanofiber sheet that I was able to produce. And so fast forward, when I graduated in June 2018, I got like job offers from big fashion companies. But then I went back to my purpose and I realized that I don't want to be a part of the fashion system that is exploiting, wasteful, and polluting. And so I went back to my shelf life idea or the wear forward idea, and then I pushed through with it. And so during that time in 2018, sustainability has just been a buzzword, and sustainable fashion or circular fashion has not been really a popular or in terms of the Filipinos in Metro Manila. And so when I asked around with the heads of the fashion schools, I realized that in order for every Filipino to have a better understanding and awareness of sustainable fashion or circular fashion, we have to know or we have to be aware about every process that our clothes go through and where they go through at the end of their life and so on, for us to have mindful decisions and activities in terms of fashion. And so I conducted more research about this in the industry, and I started collecting textile wastes from my friends or from family and turning them into these clothes, and also upcycling them into some pieces that can maybe go or be worn on the runway. And these are just some photos of the pieces that I have created. And so in 2018, it was also our first time to do our outreach wherein we gave clothes to children in Marikina, and the advocacy in making sustainable fashion and circular fashion known in the Philippines lived on. And the year after, I had my first talk in UST, where I talked about sustainability in the industry, basically. And I taught these young single or mothers who want to like upskill and who want to learn more about upcycling to have a better livelihood in terms of textile waste. And not only that, but I also attended a lot of workshops. I did a lot of talks and trainings in schools, in non-government and government organizations. And just recently, in this year, I was able to speak at the 2022 International Conference on Clothing and Textiles as a representative of the Philippines and the fashion tech startup ecosystem around the world to talk about circularity and innovation and where forward. And recently, we were also awarded as one of the top students and businesses of Alibaba, and we are invited to continue our workshop or training with them next year in China. And so, fast forward in August 2019, we made our Donate Your Textile Waste initiative public. And that's when we found out that a lot of Filipinos across the Philippines, like in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, are looking for this service wherein they are willing to give away their textiles or their decluttered clothes in hopes of being recycled or upcycled into something else. And so we basically increased our reach, our initiatives from Metro Manila and slowly in other nearby regions as well by partnering with other organizations in collecting textile wastes and managing them and segregating them, upcycling them. And so these are just some photos of how we manage or organize textile wastes with the communities as well. And these are just some of our media features. And through Wear Forward, we also build a Circular Fashion Philippines and Circular Fashion Global communities, wherein we are helping each other become accountable on the issues in the industry and helping each other live a more sustainable and circular lifestyle. And here are just some of the photos of the skills training that we do with some of the communities. This is the community in Laurel, Batangas. And we also do circular fashion training programs with partner schools. And we train their design students to create textiles or fashion pieces using circular design techniques such as zero waste pattern, deconstruction and reconstruction, and so on. And so throughout this process, we also found out a lot of missed opportunities when in terms of recycling and upcycling textile wastes, such as the lack of skill training and the lack of high quality upcycled products made of textile waste, and then viable product market fit. And although our customers right now are just donating, reselling, or throwing their clothes, our informal waste workers have no to little engagement in these activities. And so we found this as an opportunity to develop our business model and our startup even more. And so just last year, we developed our landing page. Although in 2018, we already have this simple landing page. It's only last year where we made it more like marketable in the eyes of the Gen Z or the millennials who are our target market. And basically our goal really is to make fashion sustainable and circular not only in the Philippines but in the world. And so Wear Forward basically is a platform and the first of its kind wherein we are promoting clothing as a service. And through this clothing as a service platform, our users can sell or buy, rent out or rent, swap or donate or get for free or even borrow or lend these clothes, accessories, and other textiles that are pre-loved, sustainably made, or circularly made, or upcycled, locally made, and custom made. And also, we are offering the fashion services such as fashion consulting, wardrobe management, consulting, or upcycling, custom made, even such virtual like photography or trainings and workshops and so on. And we also want in the future to onboard informal workers in co-creating with us in upcycling, in offering refashion services like alterations and repairs to our users across the Philippines. And so basically, we are the first and the go-to exclusive circular fashion marketplace. And in Wear Forward, we are also able to connect with different communities in our initiatives. So in collecting textile wastes in different areas and connecting them with other brands or other people who are also upcycling or recycling these textile wastes. And basically this is I'm not sure if this is this is playing on my end. I hope this is also playing on the big screen. So basically this is a demo of our platform, and apart from the products and services that we are offering, we are also creating a virtual wardrobe wherein each user can track their own personal impact with the each piece that they put in their wardrobe and each activity, like if they swap or they rent out their clothes, we can track their activities and their carbon footprint. And speaking of carbon footprint, we are also developing a carbon footprint calculator wherein we can assess your purchase, consumption, and disposal behavior. So we can give you any insights on how you can better improve your lifestyle or be part of the circular economy or circular fashion. And also in this part, here's where a lot of people can actually access our products or services. And right now we are in the process of onboarding more brands to be part of our marketplace so we can cater to local brands or other sustainable, eco-friendly, or circular brands in the Philippines. And we also do a lot of other activities. So apart from the one-on-one or the client-to-client services that we do, we also hold clothing swap parties, like community events or sharing events, wherein we partner with other fashion brands or organizations. And we also do styling or wardrobe management in films or short films or in virtual shows. So like what we do with One Esports and with other directors. And most of the time we make use of the textiles that we are receiving from the donations. So we are either refashioning them or just upcycling them into something else, turning them into these costumes that we use for the films or for the shows. And we have also participated in fashion shows and in other expos wherein we uh, partner with other designers in showcasing textiles or fashion pieces that are made of textile wastes. And this one is also like a shoot that we did with Everything Green, who's one of our other speaker as well, wherein we did the directing and we also do events management mostly in fashion. So with using this fashion events, basically we are also uh, advancing our causes in terms of sustainability and circularity through the way we engage with different stakeholders and sharing about the issues in the industry, for instance, or uh, influencing them or making them realize that there are other choices that are more sustainable or more eco-friendly and better is more circular. And we also participate in trade fairs. So we partner with other brands like Singer and other fashion organizations and concerts and conferences. So we've also already partnered with Globe and with textile artists. So we can exhibit their work and we can also promote their advocacies or their initiatives in relation to circular fashion. And then during the COVID-19, we also created a Wear Together project with the Global Shapers Manila Hub, wherein we activated the fashion industry in the Philippines, but mainly in Greater Metro Manila. And we raised funds to procure PPEs, and we also made our own PPEs with the participation of some sewers and some manufacturing companies and with some suppliers who donated their fabrics to us, and we were able to provide more than 100,000 pieces of PPEs across the Philippines, mainly in 17 healthcare institutions in Greater Manila. And then we also do styling and wardrobe management for some artists or some celebrities or personalities like SB19. And on the right is one of the rising P-pop boy groups right now called Six Sense. So hopefully you can follow them on their social media. And when we do shoots or when we make clothes for them as well, we also make sure to visit first our own wear forward wardrobe where the refashioned or the upcycled clothes are. And if there's anything that we can have them wear, or if the concept is a bit different, then we can conceptualize other pieces, but still making use of the off-cut or the dead stock fabrics or the decluttered clothes that we have. And so we also collaborate with other institutions, particularly in the academe, where we conduct upcycling or fashion classes or workshops with them. So the one on the screen is our recent workshop series with the Sofa Design Institute. And so we are looking for other collaborators as well for brands or for collection hub partners and other organizations who want to lobby or to advance our causes as well. And in our platform, we also have a community page wherein we aim to put up some articles or research and showcase events or projects going on in the sustainable and circular fashion space in the Philippines. And one of the ongoing projects that we have right now is called the Clothing Story of the Day photo series, wherein we go out on the streets, we interview people, and we take photos of what they're wearing. And we want basically to share their stories and the stories behind their clothes, because on that way, we better can be aware of the processes or like what's going on or how are we able to consume these clothes and share it with the people without rubbing on their face that we are actually talking or we want to talk about sustainability or circularity in the industry. And so our goals mainly are by the year 2032, we aim to have already trained 100 informal workers and support them with their livelihood and provide sustainable income with their families. And by 2032, we also aim to reduce our local fashion industry's carbon footprint or carbon emissions by 20%. And by doing so, starting now, as early as now, we want to track our Philippines carbon footprint in terms of fashion because we lack a lot of data on that. And by 2032, we also aim to recycle at least 50% of textile wastes that we have and increase our clothing utilization by 80%. And at the end of the day, hopefully in the near future or in the future, we can make the fashion industry or fashion circular 100% in the Philippines and the world. And so this is our journey together, and we always want to invite new people to go check our pages and join our Circular Fashion Philippines and global communities. And let's work together to make fashion circular. And as we always say, we're forward today, we're it forward tomorrow. Thank you.
Wow, such a comprehensive presentation and decked by Prince. So if you're listening to this presentation right now and you like what Prince was sharing, feel free to contact Prince in his organization with all the social media links that he shared. Coming right up is Miss Camille Albarracin, a colleague of mine at Benilde Hi-Fi as our entrepreneur in residence. And at the same time, she is the CEO and founder of Everything Green. Come on up, Miss Camille.
So good day to everyone. I'm really excited to share my journey as a startup as well, and be able to really share what circularity is all about based on my experience and based on where I came from, where my industry is. Okay, so let me begin by sharing my green journey. So I have here two photos. One photo is in 2002, and then I have another photo here on 2019. We did a family remake of what we had in 2020 in 2002. In fact, this was quite funny because we didn't realize that we could actually fit in our own what we had the photo we had in 2002. We had the same clothes that we wore, especially my mom, who is actually 82 right now, but this photo was taken during her 80th birthday. So I came from a big family. So just to give you like a brief background of who I am. So I came from a big family, actually from a community. I already call it a community because having a big family means that you're really backed up with a big community and a big support from my end. All right. And just to also share a bit of myself, um, I also grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. So here's my photo on the right, wearing the Miss Philippines, of course, wearing my own Filipiniana costume or Filipiniana out attire, and really being proud of how I am as a Filipina. So way back then, my parents were really has already really exemplified what true service was all about. Actually, they were physicians and doctors in Lagos, Nigeria, and I have witnessed how they become a servant, a servant to a public servant to the people who are in need. So I was exposed with this kind of um, with this kind of industry wherein my parents are in the service industry, and I came from a big family and a big community. So I think this is really important as startups, that we also have to really know who ourselves are and have that level of self-awareness before coming up actually with your own ideas, and really realizing na that these things actually really influences your life of who you are today. So just little sharing about it. So I am also a married to a very supportive husband, as the saying goes, happy life and happy wife is happy life. So he's also an entrepreneur, and he's also a photographer and a crafter. So he's very supportive of what I do right now. So anyway, so I will explain to you later what's the connection of my past experience to who I am right now. So, but I just wanted to share with you first this very funny, I think, very funny scene from Friends, wherein here is Ross Geller requesting for complimentary toiletries to be brought to his room. So, are you like Ross Geller from this scene of Friends, wherein you would like to get the value of your money, or the value of the amount that you paid from your hotel stay? So this may seem funny, but in my experience, in my journey, in my 15 years journey as a hotelier, I have witnessed so many Rosses. This may seem funny, but it's true actually, especially right now that we're already doing revenge traveling, and we've been really traveling a lot and probably been checking in so many hotels. But there is a downside out of this. The downside is just to give you for the pain actually, or the impact of this is in, for instance, in Boracay alone, there is an amount of around 420,000 kilos of waste. And for the slippers alone, if we zoom in to some of the amenities, that's around 42,000 kilos of waste, because for every night stay for a guest is actually equivalent to 1 kilo of waste per person per night. So that's really a lot. So if you multiply that, that's around 118 cubic meter. So that's really a lot of waste, or how many tons of waste that would be at. So all right. So the problem here in the Philippines is that, if we look at it at a macro point of view, we're actually accumulating already 20,000 of waste only coming from the hotel slippers that are usually made out of plastic or polyester material. Okay, so our solution for this one is Grinelas, which is the greener alternative slippers. I don't want to call it the hotel slippers anymore, because we've seen that we're not only catering to the hospitality industry, but other industry as well. So Grinelas gives value to the agricultural waste materials and provides the community with a self-sustaining enterprise. In fact, Grinelas contributes to the biocircularity economy, which involves production of renewable biological resources from bio-based materials. So we look also into, from the time that it is actually from sustainable farming until it is actually being disposed. So it's actually an end-to-end process. So for the agricultural waste that we use is abaka bakbak, which is very, that is, the Philippines is very known for that. We are one of the top producers of the abaka here for the entire world. Okay, so for Grinelas basic slides, this is actually for a multiple use. And the disposal route would be for the compost garden. It's 100% Filipino made, and it's sourced from sustainable abaca farms based on the carrying capacity. So we ensure that it's only based on the carrying capacity of the farm. And as well, we wanted to make it sure that we have tested the material and it's certified as tested material. So in terms of the design and its technology, this is also IP protected. Okay, so Grinelas also improves the livelihood of the marginalized communities, and we want to really be fighting towards sustainability. So for instance, we have here Ate Jo, who is one of our artisans, who used to have like a low income, but now with Grinelas, she's being able to provide for her family up to 14,400 per month, unlike before. So these are this is what you want to do. You want to really uplift the lives of our artisans. And of course, we have certificates and licenses. So we always tell hotels or our partner companies that for every shipment of this granellas, you could also actually divert 2,190 tons of useful resource per year, which means that's equivalent to 315,000 trash bags of waste recycled, or the equivalent carbon sequestered would be around 120,000 of three seedlings of three seedlings grown for the 10 years. Okay, so our mission for Everything Green is we create eco-solutions and green innovative products through empowered Filipino craftsmanship and expertise to help make industries more sustainable. So we're now not focusing only in the hospitality industry, I'm sorry, but also for other industries as well. So our primary business model is that we help farmers collect waste and then also help the community to process this waste and help the artisans to how to greenovate these products, even the hotels and organizations that we help and deliver these products to the hotels and organizations and up to the users or the hotel guests. And then also be able to like do the compost of the material. All right. So, all right. Okay. Next then. Okay. So in 2021, actually last year, we also had a virtual runway featuring agricultural waste. This was also sponsored or supported by the British Council, wherein we were partnered with British designers or UK-based designers to help feature agricultural waste. And then it was made out of various agricultural waste and partnered with our artisans as well. So these are the examples. And as mentioned earlier by Prince a while ago, that he was actually one of our directors in coming up with in helping us direct the virtual runway. And we were also featured in the Fashion Week Online, CNN Philippines, even the Scent magazine abroad. And we partnered also with various organizations and designers. And here are most of them. Like we have Wear Forward, Reclothing, Mako Custodio, 1020 Kids, Jerome Santamaria, and a lot more of other designers and those who are really into sustainable fashion. But aside from that, I think what's important also is the impact that we're doing for organizations and companies such as Philippine Invest Development Corporation, other companies that we also partner and help them put their waste problem and put it into the circular economy. So this is an example of Ate Jo as well using, and then we also have weavers from Bicol region. And where we're at right now, currently, we have already sold since we started in 2018, and even the pandemic has hit us so hard. We were able to thrive and really pivot and this pivot actually helped us to also realize that we could expand our market. So not just hotels, not just other brands, or we also partnered with government agencies as well. And even, as mentioned, even the Philinvest Development Corporation. So we sold at around 15,000 of granellas. So we're the only Filipino brand to actually support or actually supply to a 5-star hotel chain. And we're accredited actually in a global 5-star hotel chain globally. So talagang it's really there. So we're really starting to produce, and by 2023 onwards, we're gonna expand our production more and be able to reach to more hotels and more other brands and other organizations as well. So aside from that, we do also help organizations by using their waste for product development. We also help B2G or business to government agencies in terms of environment and natural resources management. We had trainings with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources in terms of valuation of of biodiversity as well. So even sustainable and ethical fashion, environmental and sustainable operations management. So all of these, but is of course anchored again to the circular economy. So our framework, first, what we do is we do analysis and exploration we, through needs analysis, of course, through clients and markets insights as well, and also do mapping of potential products from what the waste is. And then we afterwards we do the greenovation, we study it, and then we produce the product. Like for instance, we have material testing and prototyping, design and development, creation of new goods and services, and then implementation. And of course, the last part would be the assessment and impact contribution, which means it also affects the social and or socioeconomic impact measurement for environmental, for both tangible and intangible benefits. So our team were composed of very diverse women. We're actually a almost all women team, including our trading side and also our consultancy side. But of course, we also have our in-house artisan who is also deaf. So we also make sure that we also provide sustainable jobs or sustainable enterprise to our artisans and our deaf community as well. So yeah, thank you. So for Filipino Sign Language, I'd like to teach you this. Thank you so much, and let's thrive and innovate together. So if you'd like to contact us, please reach us through this QR code. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for that, Camille. So you and Prince have very amazing circular economy startups. So our next speaker in the lineup would be Marite Irvin from Kind Mind. So Kind Mind is an organization that helps other mission-driven enterprises and companies, organizations design transformative experiences through systems innovation, service programs, and collective action that deliver against the triple bottom line of people, planet, and prosperity. So, without further ado, Miss Marita Irvin.
Thank you, Paul. Hello to everyone attending this from Philippine Startup Week. It's a pleasure to be here to share with you a little bit of what we do at KindMind. Unlike the previous speakers who have amazing enterprises, KindMind really is a support organization for social good enterprises, for enterprises that are looking to get into the circular economy. And so we are here to actually share with you an emerging practice called service design for the circular economy. Okay. So I just want to talk a little bit about Kind Mind. I think when we introduce ourselves, there's a lot of questions on what exactly do you do. We are really a practice focused on enabling social transformation, and what we do is we really try to design more meaningful experiences and services because we believe that these are really the most powerful levers of change in society, and more so for the environment, for persons like yourselves who are considering startups or already startups within the circular economy. Why do we feel that this is an important practice? We feel that design has really moved on, or is gradually looking to explore other avenues beyond objects and artifacts, and really looking into the realm of how we can design better experiences or better services that will really impact how people view products, service deliveries, etc., and get them to really change their behaviors, and adopt new and more regenerative behaviors, especially when we think about the circular economy. So human experience, as we know, really runs the gamut from being in environments, looking at objects. We have human experiences within the realm of culture, system, societies, technology, even policy, and of course within services. That's at the core of the heart of what services is all about, is the experience. So let's think, for example, of our iconic Filipino fast food restaurant Jollibee. They're known for their warm service. Very much a Filipino branded way of doing things. And you can feel that the moment you get into the restaurant, and then even the taste of the food, all of that is part of the service experience. However, we also know that Filipino service can also have its it's the little gnarly bits and the knots and the things that make us frustrated, or the things that make things especially inefficient. And this is something that we at KindMind really want to take a closer look at, and to help organizations, startups, enterprises to really look into how do we remove those knots, those inefficiencies in services, and really come up with services and exchanges within a service process that's a lot more meaningful, that's a lot more effective, but also brings back humanity and dignity into the service process. And we believe by doing that, we can create more transformative services and bring out products that will really be more meaningful for people. So as we talked about, this is really founded on just the basic principle of what a service is. So for example, Prince talked about Wear Forward as a clothing service platform. So beyond the physical object of clothing, it is actually performing a service for people, which is delivering value to clients and partners, who want to, for example, minimize their carbon footprint, want to stop subscribing to fast fashion, and helping them really think about a more conscious way of fashion, of wearing fashion. And so as an example, Wear Forward is delivering that value by helping these people really achieve their needs and goals of doing that without much costs and risks to them, by creating this platform. And that is a service. Now, service design itself is the actual discipline, which really moves from the visual or tangible to orchestrating, to really thinking about the back end and also the front end of the interactions, experiences within this system. So, for example, Camille spoke about everything green and Greenellis, and we can think about hers as not just a product but also as a service, as an exchange between institutions like the hospitality industry, or even front facing with customers and clients. But how can we, for example, insert in situations such as that, make that service even more seamless? And that's where service design come in. Now, for the circular economy, service design becomes even more important. It's an emerging practice, but it is what we feel to be something that's critical and important to think about as you start to create services within the world of circularity. So the act of designing an organization's operations to better support circular interactions, that is service design, and it will lead to better end-to-end user experiences for service receivers and service providers. And there are certain impacts that service design can deliver when you start to think about your startup, or when you think about your enterprise, with regards to how it can become much more circular, or how we can participate in the circular economy. So the first will be the concept of flow. So service design can really help smoothen the flow of materials and resources across the circular value chain. So it's really taking a look at the circular economy, not just as a framework, but really as a regenerative service process, right? When you think about, collecting materials, finding ways to innovate around it, finding ways to either dispose of it properly, or to reuse, recycle, and retake it again into the system. This actually can be seen as a process. Now, how can we make the flow of that process much more smooth? That's where service design can come in. Other thing that service design can help with is really to improve access to knowledge, to resources and capabilities that can nudge behavior change. Because we all obviously want to get to a point where, there is circularity that's embedded in the way we behave, and the way our economy runs. But what's important to that is to think about how can people actually access, the knowledge that we want to provide, or the product, services, the capabilities that we want to provide. And really, that's where service design comes in, to think about who are the actors within, within the sector, within the space that we are working on, and how can we make sure that we can help improve access to all the things they need to help us achieve circularity. Now, the third thing about service design is that it can actually facilitate radical collaboration, which is really necessary to drive a circular system. The way service design works, and I have limited time here, so as much as I'd like to take you through the step-by-step process, we that can perhaps be saved for another time. But the way service design works is it really gathers the people who are part of the full chain of the service, right? So you don't just talk to, for example, your customers, but you also look at the people who are at the back end of things, who are actually helping you deliver the final product or the final service. And really thinking about who are the other people that we need to help us really get to a space where we can provide an excellent service or an excellent product that people will use. And really, how do we find ways to make sure that we all collaborate towards that end goal? And finally, service design can also facilitate the mindsets, which are necessary for stakeholders to enable and drive a circular economy and sustain the behaviors along with it. So the thing about service design is it requires a certain way of thinking. It's because it is a new discipline, it requires that we really look deeply into the needs of people who are touched by the service, whether that be the service providers themselves or people who receive the service. And when you start that way, when you really look at what is it that they need, what are their goals, what is the value that they feel they can bring, and really, sharing that, having a shared understanding of that, that really opens up minds into how can we all really work together, to create a cohesive circular service that people can truly appreciate. So that, in a nutshell, is really service design. It's a very quick walkthrough of what we at KindMind do. We believe that working together for a kinder world is really powered by kind actions, as you've seen in the previous speakers, but also shaped by kind minds. And this is where we can help through really introducing the discipline of service design in your circular startups, in your circular enterprises, and thinking of ways to nudge behaviors towards a greener and more circular economy. Thank you.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that, Ms. Marite Irvin, managing partner and service designer for KindMind. That's an amazing circular economy framework that you shared with us. Now, last but not the least, uh, I'd like to introduce Ms. Abby Mapua, who is who is the first director for Benilde Hi-Fi, where I am director. So in a way, she paved the way for me. And I'm actually trying to fill her shoes, the very big shoes. I'm trying to fill, right? So she is the country manager for Ashoka, a uh, very well-known organization that promotes social enterprise around the world. And she will be sharing with us a systemic lens of circular economy, as the organization Ashoka actually works with other social entrepreneurs whom they call uh, Ashoka Fellows. So, Miss Abby Mapua.
Thank you so much. Hello, Paul. Maraming salamat.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. I literally have big feet. so, but Paul is doing such a great job, and it's such an honor to be here in the panel organized by Kubo and, of course, by Benilde Hi-Fi. Yes, I'm Abby Mapua, and I'm the country director of Ashoka Philippines. So maybe just a quick brief on what Ashoka is. So Ashoka's mantra is everyone is a change maker. So every individual in the world, every Filipino is capable of change making. And really, we see change making as problem solving. We are present in 95 countries, and the core work that we do is we search the landscape, we search every country for what we call social innovators. But really, social innovators are social entrepreneurs, and we look for systems changing social entrepreneurs. We elect them, and when they pass the process, they become an Ashoka Fellow, and we get to support them and amplify the work that they're doing. So right now we have around maybe 4,000 fellows globally. In the Philippines, we have this year I think we have around 16 fellows, and 16 is such a small number for a huge population. So we have our work cut out for us. We have to elect more Filipino fellows, and I know there is no lack, but again, there are challenges in electing fellows, and also um, and maybe I think this is a good opportunity for Ashoka Philippines to talk about when we talk about social entrepreneurship and Ashoka Fellows, what kind of social entrepreneurship are we looking for? So that will be my bit in this conversation. So you had a good taste, a very granular good taste of the amazing work that Prince and Camille is doing. Marite shared a tool that they use, that KindMind uses for circular economy. Ashoka will now share the lens in terms of how could we actually affect change as social entrepreneurs. Yeah, maybe we could show the slides now. There you go. Cool. Okay, so when we talk about impact, we actually have to see that there are four layers or four levels of impact. I believe what Prince and Camille has showed earlier are types of impact that's really directly giving service and addressing immediate needs of specific individuals or communities. They see a problem. We see a problem in our communities. We see a problem in our society, and they create solutions for it. So that's a direct service. And actually, when the goal of every entrepreneur is actually to scale this service, right? So the next level is actually a scaled direct service wherein we reach more people, we reach more communities. Perhaps we go regional, perhaps we go global. So that is the goal of every entrepreneur. But interestingly, Ashoka looks at the level of impact that is systemic, as we call it, the systems change level of impact. And the deepest level of impact is actually that of a mindset shift, a shift in thinking. Okay, so maybe we will go more granular with this one as I go through the slides. But when we talk about systems change, we are actually, as the diagram would show, we are actually tackling the root cause of a social and environmental and economical problem in such a way that we want to change how this system operates. So we know that the system, if we study the system of waste, perhaps of manufacturing, if we make it more specific, we will understand where is the root cause of the problem, where is it coming from. And we try to design solutions from that level rather than the manifestations of the problem, which is marine litter, which is excessive production of clothing. No, so those are manifestations, but they're not yet the root cause of problems. Okay, so if you're, I think most of you would be very familiar with the iceberg model of thinking in systems. So we know when you see an iceberg, it's actually, well, some icebergs are small, some are big, but really underneath the water, it's actually a bigger, much bigger structure. Okay, so and this is similar with problems that we encounter in society, and really the problem of plastics, the problem of waste, is very much like this. What we observe on the surface are the events. Again, are the manifestations that we see. We see we see landfill overflowing. We see huge amounts of clothing waste, of textile waste, and many more problems. No? So what we see, what we observe are events, and a lot of times we react based on what we see. We react based on these events. But it would be very interesting if more social entrepreneurs, more social innovators will actually go deeper and examine what are the patterns that's causing these events, these manifestations. More importantly, what are the structures that's actually supporting these manifestations or events? And what are the kinds of thinking that's actually enhancing and it's strengthening the structures and patterns and events that we see. So essentially, what we want to do, the founder of Ashoka, his name is Bill Drayton. He talks about social entrepreneurs will not just be satisfied with giving people the capacity to fish. In social impact, what we want to do is to actually revolutionize the fishing industry, right? So what we want to do is to create a new system wherein it will not anymore produce the same problems that we are experiencing. So this is an example of an iceberg model wherein we want to address problems at the deeper level, which is really structures and mental models. So I will actually share with you one Ashoka fellow. Her name is Anna Oposa, of Save the Philippine Seas, and she is directly working in the field of circular economy. So I asked her to actually share her slides, and I have the privilege and the honor of sharing it with you. So I guess this was discussed earlier. So we know that we have a linear economy, and this is the kind of economy that's actually producing the waste that we have around us. So it's a take, make, use, dispose, pollute. This is very much now. This is now. But what if we could have an emerging economy that is actually a circular economy? And this is what we're trying to hack, right? So if you notice in the diagram on the, well, to me, it's on my right side, there is no more take in the step, right? It's make, use, reuse, remake, recycle, and from that, you make again. So there is no more harvesting of new materials because there is no necessity for it. And the reason we could do this is because we, at the source, we are trying to solve pollution. We are trying to design right at the source. So again, what is circular economy? Circular economy is just redefining the way, again, this is a mindset shift, redefining the way we see, we understand growth. What could growth look like for us as social entrepreneurs? Will it mean more packaging? Will it be more shipping and logistics, and more packaging for shipping and logistics? What will it actually mean for us? So how do we actually think about growth in such a way that it's immediately circular? How could we think about growth that is focusing on positive society-wide benefits and not just the profit of an organization or enterprise? So it entails gradually decoupling economic activity from the consumption of finite resources and designing waste out of the system. So right from idea stage down to implementation to managing, there is no more idea, there is no more waste produced, right? So from the onset, you design waste out. And then the last one is to build economic, natural, and social capital as well. So when we think about circular economy, and having a systemic lens, you want to think about upstream, because when you think about recycling is actually a downstream solution. So you get rid, I will go back to this slide again. You get rid of waste at the product end stage already, the end life cycle of the product already. So that's when you remove waste. But if you think about a systemic lens to circular economy, you wanna do the solution upstream end. So not anymore on the end of the life stage of a product, but really at the start, at the very start. So you avoid recycling at all costs. You avoid recycling at every step of the process as much as possible. So again, the principles would be to you design out waste and pollution. You keep products and materials in use. You keep it moving around the system. Nothing is wasted. And that in itself is actually could be regenerative already, you know. So we observe nature and we see that in nature there is nothing wasted. How could we be like nature? So I think a coconut is which is very abundant in the Philippines, is a very good example of this one, where nothing is wasted. Every aspect of the tree, every bit and piece is actually usable and reusable and definitely biodegradable. So I will share with you how the work of Ana Oposa as a social entrepreneur is actually systems changing. So one is that Ana and the Save the Philippine Seas, they understand they need to work with big organizations that's actually contributing to waste. But these organizations would want um, to have some change done, right? They aspire for a circular economy. So we need to work with them. We need to help them. So one project that they have is actually with Coca-Cola, and they've been doing this one for quite a while already. It's reimagining recycling. I actually had an opportunity to speak, I think, in the first year when they launched reimagining recycling, and I challenged Coca-Cola to think about how could we reimagine not just recycling, but how could we reimagine consuming a beverage. So I think Marite's kind mind would actually could have a hack in this one. Like, what could be a service design process in terms of um, reimagining the act of drinking a beverage, right? So it doesn't have to be in this plastic bottle. So Reimagine Recycling is actually a project that supports solutions that will reduce waste. So what happens is Save the Philippine Seas would conduct workshops, they would conduct mentorship, and they would actually elect and choose startups and provide 500,000 funding for each of the winners, together with the mentorship. So probably I'll show you a few in their basket of startups that they're supporting. I actually know Sari Cycling. So Paul, Sari Cycling was actually one of our winners in Benilde Hi-Fi's Climathon. I think we did this one in 2019, just before the lockdown. So Sari Cycling also is part of Coca-Cola's Reimagining Recycling. So what's interesting about Sari Cycling, it's actually building on the capacity of Sari Sari stores to be hub of recycling, right? So most of the time, even though materials recovery facilities are mandated by law to be present in every barangay, sadly it is not. And if ever it is not in good condition. But we have a lot of Sari Sari stores in every corner, in every canto. So why not use Sari Sari stores? It is already a natural hub and melting pot of people. So why not use it also as a facility for recycling? So that is Sari Cycling. Another one is Republic Junk. Republic Junk. It's actually working with um, the modern mangangalaka, those who collect waste, no, and this is concentrated in Cagayan de Oro. Another one is D Waste Solutions, which has an acronym of MARE. This is interesting because, like I said earlier, you know, it's mandated by law that we should have MRF facilities in every barangay, but it's not working. So, as with a lot of things that is not working in the Philippines, we realized that when we privatize something, then it actually has a good chance of working. So D-Waste Solutions, I believe, is about, you know, the possibility of privatizing these MRF facilities. Juan Loop is also about packaging that's being used for e-commerce. So this is Juan Loop. Isla Refill is this is, I think this is quite something that we see that is more common, and which is, it's a good kind of common, is these stores that actually does not sell in sachets but or in disposable containers, but actually refillable items. And then Ugyon is actually the use and recycle of what's already waste into products that could be used still. So those are a few. Another thing that, so why is that? I just want to make a point that why is that the work with Coca-Cola of Save the Philippine Seas is a systemic way of addressing the problem, is because they're influencing. Number one, they're able to influence Coca-Cola to rethink recycling by not just recycling per se, but rethinking about recycling in terms of designing it from the root. And how do we help smaller startups to support Coca-Cola in terms of managing waste as well? And another thing that Save the Philippine Seas does is actually heavy on research, is actually the report conducted on stock taking of different initiatives across the country that's actually addressing the country's waste problem. I believe this report has been done with UNDP is about to be released. And among the other things that Save the Philippine Seas does is they have a lot of IEC material. So I know that they have created curriculum for DepEd on on um, on marine conservation, but also on plastics. Is there anything else? I think that's about it. So that's my quick share in terms of a tangible work of an Ashoka Fellow, whose work is actually scaled across the nation, and also impacting governance and starting to impact. Well, actually, I think they have done already nudging policy change, so that we know that it's at the level of structural changes and also affecting mindset shift. So I will take a pause there. Thank you. Back to you, Paul.
Awesome. Thanks for that amazing sharing, Miss Abby. And at this point, I'd like to call on the other members of the panel so we can have a quick question and answer uh, for the benefit of those listening to our panel here in Philippine Startup Week 2022, right? So, is Miss Marite somewhere? So, okay, I want to ask this. Obviously, this concept of circular economy is very new for most people, and you could consider yourselves the pioneers in this type of intervention, right? Uh, so the question is, what is the reception so far within your circle of peers, right? Your circle of so. How do they receive the fact that you're doing circular economy while they're probably still doing stuff that has nothing to do with the circular economy? How has it been received so far? Anyone can jump in.
Yes, probably, Sir Paul. Let me just share. When I started in 2018, initially, of course, I had that really hard time to convince hotel to do an eco switch. It was really quite a challenge. Like, how can you now incorporate sustainability or circularity within the hospitality industry? Coming from the hotel industry, I would really know their answers because cost was one of them. What cost and of course business is and bottom line was one of them. But I had to convince them in such a way that they would see the value rather than the cost. So they have to become more value sensitive rather than cost sensitive, and also be able to look at the impact that it may have in the long run, not just as a short term, but the longer impact that it may be. Um, so so for me, it was quite hard. But now, it seems that uh, in here currently now that I think the awareness level is already there, and it has already passed that awareness level, and now it's more of the responding on how to really make this possible, or really implementing circularity within the industry itself. Yes, thank you.
In 2018 or 2019, when we are talking about or lobbying sustainability or more so circular fashion in the Philippines, especially like in our own communities and so on. But we are proud to say that Wear Forward has been the leading champion of circular fashion in the country. And as we are strengthening our efforts in raising awareness and understanding about the issues in the industry, And in consumerism of fashion pieces, basically we have already grown our community members and followers to around 18,000. And we have collected and diverted more than 5,000 kilograms of textile wastes, mostly in Metro Manila, but some of them are in Davao, in Subic, and in other parts of Luzon. And we have already conducted around 100 community talks or virtual talks, physical talks, workshops, and trainings. And we are not just doing this in a local scene, but at the same time, as mentioned earlier, we have been invited as well in the international or the Asian region as well. So that's really positive on our end that our basically raising awareness on circularity and the effects of fast fashion and other negative issues in the industry are being brought to the limelight already, and more people, especially our Gen Zs or our younger generations, are more participating on these kinds of activities. And also, just to add, we have also led more than 11 outreach programs in Metro Manila, in Bicol, in Batangas, in Bulacan. And we have worked and partnered with more than 100 companies who are also open or already adopting circularity into their system. And we have I've actually know some of the startups or social enterprises that Abby has presented. So we've worked with them in other competitions, and Where Forward has won two startup and circular economy hackathon or competitions over the past year.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, I think Miss Marite's internet's a little bit trippy. You want to comment on that, Miss Marite, while you have good internet? On the question of how acceptable is it for circular economy startups? Maybe Abby can comment on that. You've seen you've seen the progress of acceptance of this startup. So, what's the quote unquote the climate so far? It seems like there's something happened after the pandemic that these things become more acceptable or more mainstream.
Um, yeah, you know what? Well, definitely. I mean, I have to be very truthful. Success of startups it's a tough journey. It is a tough journey. So congratulations, Prince. I know that this is something that started when you were still in the university and continue to do so. So that is a rare thing, and I hope you get to continue to do that. It's one of our pains, actually, for me, for a long time working with a lot of young people, very idealistic to actually work on something, but it's really the continuity. But what I noticed, to your point, Paul, during the pandemic is that, the pandemic has pushed us, everyone, to be more reflective, reflective of, the things that we take for granted, the things that we waste, um, the things that are not working. So I think it is because of that, the forced lockdown and the forced, finality in life. uh, it's finite. Resources are finite. We really think about our actions, and we really think about, if I am to do business, how might I do it in such a way that it's not just about profit, but it's really about helping out. So the sad thing also, is that for me, during the pandemic, online shopping has increased, and it's because it has become a necessity. It has also created a lot of waste. Um, so there are pros and cons. There are a lot more doing more initiatives in terms of circularity. Um, and there is definitely a greater sense of openness is brought about by the pandemic. But we are at the 11th hour. The problems are so huge already, and climate change. When I was studying environmental science 2 decades ago, we talk about climate change and nobody was believing. But now I don't think anyone is not believing. It is happening. So we are at the precipice. So the change needs to happen faster. So I actually, for me, my goal, Paul, is that if more startups, social startups, even profit-oriented startups, could really look at addressing the problems at the systemic level. so that we create a totally new system. So I mean, I'm inspired by the work of Camille and Prince, and I see a lot of potential for each of them actually addressing systemic problems. Thanks, Paul.
Marita, you wanna comment? I think your internet's a bit better now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Sorry, Paul, could you refresh me with what the question was?
So,
Because I was really.
like, when you listen to Prince and Camille, right? You get the sense that they are the pioneers in this field, and I've been around. I've been doing startups for more than a decade now. Like, I have started DSpace, Kubo, Geeks on the Beach, but concepts of circular economy, circularity among startups, that's just gaining acceptance. So I'm saying, like, obviously, like, you're doing something very niche also, like service design for circular economy. So what's the acceptance so far? Because I'm sure you have peers and they're saying, hey, Marite, what are you doing? What's this? So how's the interest so far? How's the acceptance so far?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Paul. And yes, we get that question all the time. Now the good thing about it is service design at least is becoming an emerging into the consciousness of, a lot of companies that are really looking at not just, what are the products and services we can bring out, but how do we actually create the behaviors around that. So this is particularly true with circularity. So you can come up with fantastic ideas on how to drive circularity, get people to reduce, reuse, recycle. But there's a gap we feel, which we call the intention action gap, right? Which is in between. How do you actually trigger behavior? So that's one thing that service design actually looks into. Yes, we are getting more and more interest in it. Interestingly enough, through government. So Kind Mind, for example, works with local governments now to really think about how they can improve their services, especially when they migrate, for example, from manual services to digital. So for Prince, for example, you have a digital platform. It's really good to think about what are those little nudges, what are those little designs you can make in your digital service that you can really so that you can really encourage people to change their behavior. And a lot of that is in the design of the service. You start to think about, how can we make it easier for people? How can we make it the tech a lot more accessible? For example, how can we make places where we can drop off recycled textiles or clothes much easier for people so that they don't have to go out of their way? Because what we found out through behavioral science is we have to make it as easy as possible for people to really adopt green behaviors, we call them. So I'm not sure that directly answered your question, but we are slowly generating interest. We've worked with the Design Center of the Philippines, lots of young minds, exciting people who were looking for new ways to think about how to design better experiences, products, and services. So yeah, so we'd love to chat with the startups that are in this forum to think about these new tools on how to really design your startups, your enterprises in a much more effective way.
No, that's food for thought. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, the Prince app, right? Uh, kind of mentioned that they're designing an app now for the Gen Z, right? So, and the other, so there is there is, I think, a need for this generation and the next one incoming to really understand how this works, right? And one of the things we notice is that there are a lot of calls for projects that require product managers who understand circular economy. So yeah, maybe I'd like the startups here, we're forward, everything, didn't comment on that if that's a need that comes up. And the weird thing was, I recommended to them Carlo Delantar, and he's always the one who gets referred to because there's really not a lot of people who understand product management, creating products. So I was suggesting creating like an APM associate product management, like a course or an internship. Even Marite alluded to the design center and the young people there. So yeah, I want some comments from the startups. Is this a need on your part just to be able to connect uh, to the generation, right? The Generation Z, in terms of the products, product management at the same time. For Abby and Maritea, you're working on the policy level. Is this something that maybe everyone in the circular economy have to look into at a systemic level so that the next generation can be part of circularity?
Okay, I can start, Paul. So yeah, you know what? Spot on. What you actually talked about, what you just shared, is definitely a need. It should be now part of every organization's SOP. There's no escaping this problem, um, and to establish a process, establish a a product, a service that will be counter to a circular economy could be a mortal sin already, honestly. So that's why definitely a course, a training on how to manage this is a must. It should trickle down. Although I don't know, maybe in the academe it could be slower, but knowing Benilde, it should be faster. It could trickle down to the courses that are being taught actually. So there is definitely a big space for this one. And actually, I just want to build on what Marite mentioned earlier. I really feel like service design is such a powerful tool in terms of nudging mindset shifts, and it doesn't have to be like a huge endeavor of information education communication campaigns. It doesn't have to be like policy level nudges, but as she said, perhaps in the app, in the website, there are small things that you could actually um, redesign, that could actually already start nudging behavioral changes. And you know in anything, circular economy is a lifestyle change, it's a mindset shift, so a personal transformation needs to happen. And I think that's the power of service design as a tool for starting to catalyze a systemic change that we really need. So I am just hoping, like, when you talk about this perhaps this training, I'm hoping that I thinking on behavioral changes, thinking of service design could be included in this one, because these are the kinds of new tools that we need, um, in terms of the business that we're doing.
Yeah, if I can add, I think, Paul, what's encouraging is um the conversation around the need to change the way we consume things, is already happening, right? I think we are becoming much more conscious. We notice it in our weather, nag-iiba, dumadami yung mga typhoons, right? So instinctively people know. But I super hear you, and I really agree with what you and Abby are saying, which is, how do we now bridge that instinctive knowledge that we feel that the earth needs our help, that and what are the, where can we actually get those knowledge and the tools and the resources. So in on our end with Kind Mind, we are actually really, we are super, would be so happy if we can multiply ourselves through the work that people like Camille and Prince are doing through academic institutions. It's fantastic that we get the chance to work with local governments. And definitely what we're seeing is circularity has to be, a through the line effort, right? From everyone at the grassroots, your individual actions, all the way up to government. But I believe that really it's in the power of one, right? Is that each of us have the ability to contribute to that. And it really begins with thinking and being much more conscious of our actions, of our purchases, and of our behaviors. So yeah.
Yeah, so Prince and Camille, so do you need more product managers, to design products for your startups? And then where do you normally source your product managers for your startup? Or do you have to train them from scratch?
Yeah, so thanks for that, Paul. And I'm really inspired by the discussions so far. And I really believe that product management, and even it's not just product management anymore, it's service management and like systems management right now. And basically, for me, it's very important. I'm personally also invested in a course or a workshop in that, and a lot of the startups listening to us right now for sure can relate and would want to be a part of those trainings as well. But in our case, I think it depends on the level or the stage of startup or social enterprise that you are in right now. So in our case, since we are a very small company and startup right now, I'm the one who's training our like interns or other uh, tech engineers or our fashion engineers in how we can better design or come up with our products or our platform that can really match with the needs of the customers right now, especially our Gen Zs or millennials, without compromising our advocacies or the messaging that we want them to take part of. And I really agree that right now it's more of systemic change and already, and this will only happen if not only as a startup, but we need to collaborate with other stakeholders like our local government agencies or NGAs and other private sector organizations in pushing for circular system changes. And yeah, I think we need more product managers so that not just for early startup stages, but for other more advanced stage startups or social enterprises, for them to develop their own systems that can adhere to our circular principles and even the techniques. In every industry, I think there are different techniques, circularity techniques that they can use. So, for instance, in the fashion industry, we have the design techniques that I've shown earlier, where designers or manufacturers can adopt in their processes. And so it's important that the product managers are also they already have their own mindset of circularity that they can share with their organization.
Thanks for that,
Yes.
Prince. Yeah, go, Camille.
Yes, just to add as well, I see that there is really a gap, even for startups or social enterprises, because uh, product managers, usually we focus first on our individual products, but we're not really looking at focusing more on the internal structures yet. So I think there is a need that internal structures should be in place and the system should be in place actually to really be able to fulfill whatever goals or objectives that you want. So product managers in the tech industry, it's very crucial as well as they come in um, social enterprises who are into circularity. That helps us also build our internal structures and make us be able to really grow the business and have that certain structure and that systems, right systems in place. But for us, I see that we really need product managers, especially for our social enterprise, Everything Green, as we are also growing our business and our impact in terms of circularity, and also be able to really measure. So if there's a systems
Yeah.
in place internally, it would be easier for us to be able to measure that later on as with our external stakeholders and our partners in the future. Yeah. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks,
Quickly,
Camille. Go.
yeah, sorry, quickly, Paul. I just want Camille mentioned measuring circular impact. I just want to quickly share. There is a tool. I believe it's free. You could see it at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website. It's called Circulytics. It's precisely that. It's measuring the impact of your circular economy, and it's not just for big organizations. You know, whatever size of an organization you are in, you could actually access the tool. And I think it's important for product managers and even the founders themselves, because one of the principles I talked about of circular economy is rethinking growth. So I think this tool of measuring the impact your circular activity is actually a way for you to force you to rethink the growth that you envision, because it will assess you on your strategy. Does it really have a circular economy strategy through and through? It will assess you on the innovation in terms of the tools that you actually use. It will even give you a toolkit. um, and I think we think about circular economy as always materials flow. So yes, materials flow, but also strategy and innovation aspect of your organization. So check it out, Circulytics.
Thanks
And
for
if I
sharing
may
about that
add,
tool. Go, Prince.
all right. So in the aspect of like growth and impact, I also wanna like add on that like product managers can also have the power to also advise teams or organizations in not just building their own business models or financial models, but more importantly, since we are talking about circular economy and our impact, basically all of the tech startups, I hope, could also have their own separate impact model, wherein that's how they can also assess their impact. And again, the Circulytics tool is very good way for you to assess your what you're doing, or it depends on the technology that you're involved with. So if it's on like if you're on a climate tech, then maybe you are measuring your energy or your water usage and so on. And it really depends on your tech startup. But at the end of the day, again, it's really important that you delve through your not just your business model, but at the same time your impact model as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. So time moves fast when we're having fun. So I think we have about 5 minutes left. So that the name of this panel is the future of circular economy startups in the Philippines. So there is such a thing as requests for startups. So you go to Y Combinator. They said these are the kind of startups we want to fund. So I'm sure this panel you've been exposed to different kind of startups abroad in the Philippines. So, last question for everyone. What kind of startups do you think should be started here in the Philippines? Since you've seen a lot, what do you think are the gaps where future founders of circular economy startups maybe they should start thinking about these kinds of problems? So, what's if there was an RFS, a request for startup? Well, what kind of startups do you think should be created, instantiated in the Philippines? Anyone wants to start?
Once you go next, I can start because you'd have limited time. Um, Definitely compelling evidence that we should have more. Um, how do you say this one? Innovation on materials. Because when we think about designing out waste, it is basically materials. But also, I just want to say like there is also a huge opportunity for startups to think in systems. Systems thinking is something that is not uh, taught. If ever it has been taught, it is not that it's very subtle the way it's taught. It could have been more out there and more more granular, not abstract. So that we have a lot of startup founders who will actually hack the problem at the source. So I feel like those are huge opportunities because right now we're really reacting to a lot of the events and manifestations of the problems. So
So
yeah,
like your
my two
iceberg
cents.
model, people to work on the at the bottom of the iceberg, like applied or
Yes.
practical systems thinking. Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's an awesome idea.
So
Right?
so Paul, an invitation to you. Have an RFS for that one. Let's do a hackathon on that one. Because
Yeah,
most
makes sense.
hackathons would address the superficial problems.
Yeah. MIT has a very good systems design, so I think we can take that approach, but towards more circularity issues, right, and problems.
Yeah.
Camille, Marite,
Oh,
Prince,
sorry. No, I'll just quickly
go.
contribute my 2 cents. Well, obviously, again, for us, the most obvious problem is that of marine litter, right? The Philippines being one of the top 5 contributors to plastic waste. I would probably challenge maybe new thinking in startups that really look also at the back end of things. So while there's a lot of innovation happening on the packaging, etc., I feel like behaviorally there's still a problem because of the things like, for example, collection, waste management, being one of the key problems that will really impact the systemic problem of marine litter. So I feel like there's an opportunity for startups that are in the less sexy space of looking at the mechanisms that can drive that behavior change. So yeah, for marine litter, it would be waste management, collection, and how to actually deliver those to let's say fab labs, who are rethinking of ways to rethink the use of plastics. I would also look at, for example, delivery of services, whether that be energy and as we've seen in the Philippines, so food systems, having those problems that occur because of the back end side of things. So that's worth also looking at it as an opportunity space.
Yeah, marine litter. Yeah, there is something. There's someone created something like that in the ocean, right? And maybe they should open source that and could release a few of those around the Philippines so they can clean up the litter around their seas, right? Camille, you have an RFS. Prince, you have an RFS
Yes.
in mind.
For me, I think since I'm more of the in terms of the green and innovation side, so I would agree that it has to be also like an end to end. Look at it at an end to end level, like from production level. So I think manufacturing of the manufacturing of because if we don't um, manufacture items and then back to the consumers, if we start with from the manufacturing side, that it would be having like a more of a, I agree with Miss Abby about materials, but also looking at the manufacturing process and at the materials that has been it will be used, and then until disposal. So it has to be also like an end-to-end process. Like look at it, where do we now how do we now provide alternatives for manufacturing and until disposal, yeah, for the consumption as well, and then how will should we also dispose these products and give it back again for reuse or going back to the manufacturing side again to really achieve the circular economy. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and as for me, as a representative of the fashion industry, I'm really compelled to really also announce and invite those listening to us, or even the big startup grantees or grantors, to really find or invest in technologies or startups that are doing the closing the loop system. So Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they kind of identified the characteristics of circular textiles and clothing, and I hope more and more in the Philippines or Filipino startups will delve through these three. So first is the design for recycling, meaning that the textiles or the raw materials themselves are already recyclable when they are being in the process of research or development. And second is a recycling system basically is available and in place, which can only be possible if big corporations and the companies and the local government and the national government will be working together on this one. And which already are, by the way, we are in a project with the Philippine Textile Research Institute for mechanical and chemical recycling of textiles, which would be pioneering sometime the first half of this decade. And lastly is the recycling and design, which a lot of designers are already doing, wherein they are making their pieces from recyclable textile materials. But we hope that more and more of these solutions become more long-term, as opposed to what we are seeing right now, that although they are contributing to circular economy, many of the solutions are short-term or band-aid solutions, but they are working. So hopefully we invest in these three principles.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Prince, for that. Thanks to everyone in the panel, Miss Abby Mapua from Ashoka, Camille Albarazin from Everything Green, Miss Marite Irvin from Kind Mind, and of course, Prince Jim Del Ventura from Where Forward. for being part of this amazing panel. Thanks for joining us in Philippine Startup Week. Again, my name is Paul Pao from Benilde Hi-Fi. We do have an open call for projects for our Benilde Trailblazers Startup Incubation program. If you have a capstone, thesis, project, or startup idea, we more than love to incubate you. Go to bit.ly/bigboxbenilde. And of course, if you have questions, you can put it on the chat. And thanks for joining us. Again, have a amazing Philippine Startup Week 2022. Thanks, everyone. Bye.